Good evening, council. We'll call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Here.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Council, we will add something to our public appearances. Andrew Edlin here on behalf of the library board to receive the proclamation later, scheduled later in the meeting, but we'll move that up to the public appearances. And are there any other additions or changes to this evening's agenda? Okay. Not, then we'll move to our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes from the August 13th council meeting, approval of the August 24th, 2018 payroll of $119,703.01. Approval of the June and July finance reports, approval of the USDA Step 1 debt in the amount of $12,975, approval of the CoBank interim financing debt in the amount of $1,206.92, acceptance of the beautification minutes, acceptance of the library board minutes. We have approval of a liquor license for Taste of Fairfield, approval of claims in the amount of $256,239.44. There will be, the asterisk there is one contingent payment will be $2,104 to Selleck and Sharma acquisitions, which we'll deal with in our agenda. So if they are approved, that will be part of the total claims. And also one claim above $75,000 to LL Pelling Company of $76,599.45. So any questions regarding those consent agenda items? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Please call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So our first public appearance is Denise Rush, who is here on behalf of the World Fairfield International Festival. Good evening.
So,
We all have a copy of what you submitted.
yes, what copy of the downtown application, is that what you have?
Just your application to address the council, so it does have, right.
Right, and concerning that application, we talked to the chief of police and the Parks and Rec people, and settled that we would ask for the portion of the street that needs to be closed is Broadway between Main and Court. And that's something that we'd like to put before council. And also that we would like to be able to play music until 11. We're going to have a stage. We have a full docket of really, really talented musicians running from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And easily fill till to 11. And we really would like to be able to provide that music. All that music is going to be completely free to everyone. Is everyone familiar with what the festival that we have talked about?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So you know it's a
Cultural
two-day
festival.
event. And yeah, what we're talking about here is the festival part of it. Thank you.
This mic is not working.
And so I don't really have to sell you on anything. You know all the details of it. What has changed a little bit is that it kind of expanded. We got out into the community to start planning it, and it became a much people really were excited about it, so they wanted to take part, which is why now it starts. We're going to have a parade, a sidewalk parade from Howard Park to the square and around the square in order to open the festival. And then music will start at about 3:30. And we'll actually open with, we're pretty much sure that we'll be opening with Native American dancers and drums. And then go into our lineup. We've got about 8 acts that will perform at least. So the community really got excited about it. And so that's why it expanded from 3 to 8, I believe it was, and now it's from 2 to 11.
Okay.
So we'd really like to be able to do that. Do you have any questions for me?
Denise, I understand that the reason that you're asking for the closure of Broadway, full closure, is that you will have the stage set on the street.
Yes, we're pulling a flatbed truck there at Rustin Lippincott's suggestion on the street right there, so that there's room actually to dance to in the street. Yes.
So it'll be put, yeah. So we've used that setup before for our Live in the
have.
Square, where that flatbed is placed in the middle lane, and then you have that front lane open. But more recent policy was to leave that back lane that's closest to the retail on that north side of the square open. Did you get a chance to talk with any of the any of the business owners on that north side of the square?
I did not.
If it's no, it's no. So anyway, that council, I think you're familiar with the history. Generally, when we've closed it off entirely, we've had a lot of those businesses complain that there's no access to their stores unless someone's parking somewhere else and walking, and that can't be guaranteed. So,
well, there could be barricades used along the one
on the back
stripe on the north side.
So that's what we've done in the past, is we're able to leave that open because it is one way, so that the traffic heading east can still pull in, and they can back out of there and move also. That'll obviously slow down more at night, so I think for the main part of the festival, you're not going to have much traffic through there, but it might be more preferable to leave that far north side of the lane open, barricaded, as Darren described.
And,
Have you?
Well, the last thing we want to do is alienate the very people we're trying
absolutely.
Yeah.
we're trying to celebrate, so.
Yes.
Have you made arrangements for barricades to close off the parking and try to get everything controlled that way, or are you going to request those from the city that
Yes,
they be
we'll
dropped
request them
off so
from the city.
that they can be closed?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
I'm officially requesting them from the city.
Well, that request needs to be made through Daryl as well, as far as.
Yeah, there's a city form that you'll need to fill out to
Okay.
request for barricades.
Great,
Right.
we'll do.
And we'll be happy to support that way, so it's just make
Yeah,
sure that
it's
everyone
just-
knows what you're doing.
I think
Wonderful.
nonprofits are exactly that.
Yeah, just
for-
so that you don't get out there and find a whole bunch of cars parked in spaces that you were asking to get closed and weren't closed at a particular time, and now you have the hassle of trying to work with these guys to see if you can get cars moved during this. And there are residents in the downtown area that
Sure.
do park around the center, so you'll run into that with a new event.
So the barricades come from Parks and Rec, from the police?
Well, they would come from the
Street
street
department.
department.
Street.
There'll be a white and orange
Okay,
portable barricade.
okay. Well, that sounds fine. Is there, do we have permission to play music until 11?
I have one question before we
Oh, yes.
make our motion.
This diagram that was sent to us includes the east and west parking along Central Park and the south. So all those parking stalls is being closed off. Is that accurate? Is that part of the request?
That was the original
That was part of
request.
the original request. So we're doing this in stages because we keep finding out about more stuff we were supposed to request. The
So,
last time we appeared here, that's what we were asking for.
Is that still the case, though?
do you think it's necessary?
Well, what if we need,
I know we'll need,
So-
we are having some food trucks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're going to address some of the questions, why don't you come up? So we would
Yes,
like to get
please.
everything.
I'm sorry,
That's okay. No, we just like to get everything
Yeah,
on
we have a-
camera.
Right.
okay.
We will have a couple of food trucks, and I will need also to
So Jason's going to pull that up so you can see what we're looking at.
Trying to multitask.
Yep. Scroll down.
There it is.
So that's what we're seeing.
Right, I've got that in front of me right here.
So that's what we think your request is.
So
all that.
possibly, maybe we don't need them on the west and maybe the south.
You
I mean,
mean
north-
along
the
Burlington
south
and
side.
Main Street?
Pardon me?
Along Burlington and Main Street?
Burlington and Maine, we may not
Okay.
not
We have to
need
have
them
a
here.
place to park food trucks.
Food
right?
trucks can be here.
Well,
Okay.
the north side you're gonna use for dancing, so you don't want any food trucks up
Right.
there, that is only the east side.
Right.
Right here.
Art
on
Walk
Fourth Street.
typically First Fridays uses the east and sometimes
South.
a little bit of the south
Right.
if they need.
Depending on what they do.
Yeah.
But you can get, if you don't only have a couple food trucks, that'll be plenty of space on the
I think
east
so
side.
too.
East side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably fit 4 easily.
Oh, yeah.
Or more.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that the request would be modified to leave at least one lane of traffic open on Broadway on the very north side of the street. Mark off parking along the south side of Broadway and then also along the west side of Court. Is that what we're talking about now?
South side of Burlington or
So
something?
this block
No.
up here.
Broadway, not Burlington. Yeah, I would think just one side of the square for the food
I
trucks
agree.
is gonna be.
Right,
adequate. So that would be.
which would be on the east side where,
Right.
yeah.
Both lanes and the
Yeah.
parking on the north side.
Yeah,
Yes,
So we
Yeah.
leave
But
the
nothing on
parking,
Burlington.
we leave the parking alone on Main and
Burlington.
Right.
If you can.
Now, on Broadway, when, if we have barricades at our disposal at the time of setup, does it make sense for us to leave any of the parking on the, what do you call that? That would be the south side of Broadway against the square.
No,
I wouldn't do
Close
it.
that.
close that.
Close that all, just,
Yeah, take the
okay,
parking
fine.
and 2 lanes.
Okay,
You
fine.
got a lot of people walking.
You can
around.
actually put food trucks in there too.
That's true.
That's true.
So you're gonna need a lot of that just to pull in a flatbed.
Yeah.
Each end, it depends on how far away they can be from electricity too. That's true.
Right.
Some of them need to be fairly close.
There's like usually a snow cone place or something that's there on First Fridays.
Okay, so I entertain a motion then to approve and then the final issue would be the extension of the noise ordinance hours to 11 PM, which again, we have done in the past for Live on the Square and for Ragbri and for others. And we generally have not gotten complaints when we've done that. We have more residents living in the downtown above the square than we have had in the past, so I don't anticipate that there'll be complaints, but we don't generally get them from the neighborhoods, so.
Well, at least with the businesses right on the square, I know that we would like to go and we have been interacting with them already, but we'll definitely be letting them know that that's the case, so they're aware of it.
Okay.
Hopefully, I don't know how to contact the residents really ahead of time, unless this is going to go in the newspaper anyway, so.
Okay,
And posters.
so council will entertain a motion to approve those changes.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Hamilton. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, good luck, good weather.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'll be quick. I have questions about the process that food trucks can be allowed to operate. Who do I
Can
talk to?
you- Yes, come and see Rebecca, and also for the form for the
And
street department.
there were some local option sales tax funds that we talked about, and we haven't seen them.
Through FIDA, and that was, if you can work that out with Josh, and Josh can make the request, and then probably within 2 weeks, we can arrange those.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. What's that? Okay. Okay, next I invite Andrew Edlin from the Library Board.
Hi. Since 1987, there's been a national campaign every September to have a library card sign-up, which means to encourage people, surprisingly enough, to sign up for a library card. And obviously, particularly kids, because it's a back-to-school event, And it saves kids and their parents an awful lot of money if they learn to use the library properly for virtual homework, for study, so that they're not buying books unnecessarily. I don't think I have to sell you, to use Denise's phrase, on the common sense of supporting people signing up for a library card. But it is a very good campaign, and to that end, the mayor has agreed to proclaim as such in Fairfield.
National Library Card Sign-Up Month,
That is correct.
September.
There will be a lot of publicity on this, 3,000 flyers in the Ledger, a lot of other publicity on it. But the library director and the library trustees asked that I come on their behalf and just alert you to this. It costs nothing for somebody to get a library card. It has huge benefits. There are a few things that one can discuss in the course of a year that have no cost and a lot of payback for the community. And we all know, I think, from our own experience, how important that is for kids, particularly now libraries are getting more and more tech-oriented. It's not just a question of going and getting a book out, although that's still the core function of a library, but there's a lot of other things that they can benefit from, and for that matter, that adults can too. To that end, we've also encouraged local businesses to give some kind of gift, discount, if somebody presents their library card during September. We have 21 businesses that have signed up for that, and I'm not going to read them to you, you'll be glad to hear. But everything from a donut to $5 off a haircut to 10% off service at a computer store. I mean, people have gone out of their way to support this. So I just encourage you to be aware and to support this in any way you can. Thank you very much.
Andrew, you can pick up the proclamation if you'd like, right here. And I think it's our honor to support our library with its great tradition and its great history and sign-up month. Present that to you.
Oh, right, thank you.
Thank you. The council will entertain a motion then to support and approve an approval to support the activities of the library for National Sign-Up Month at the library. So moved. Moved by Rasmussen, second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next, council will move to our action items and resolutions. First is the consideration of approval of the Burlington Water Main Project as final. Mel is on vacation, so she will not be able to attest to the information that's in the letter, but I think we do understand from the contents of the letter that that project is final, and we're asking to release the final payment of $1,634.95, along with the retainage of $7,789.05. So entertain a motion to approve the project as final.
So moved.
Moved by Hallie, second by Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to consideration for awarding the resurfacing of East Buchanan Avenue at South Main Street, North and South Park Street project. We received just one bid on this. Aaron, were you there for bid opening?
I was not there for a bid opening, but we did receive one bid, and as you can see on the bid tabs, that they were under the engineer's estimate.
So the engineer's estimate was $187,000. The bid from Norris Asphalt Paving of Ottumwa came in at $155,150. So your motion then would be to approve the one bid that we received. Obviously, we've done a lot of work with Norris Asphalt. We know them in our community. and appears to be a reasonable bid.
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Thompson to approve, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Thompson,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, we have consideration of a tenant easement agreement on Libertyville Road. I'm going to ask our city attorney to tell us what is in the resolution that you're being asked to approve. Good evening, John.
What you have is a resolution actually that covers two acquisitions. One of them is just the interest of a tenant that lives at 2064 Libertyville Road. We had them holding out at that site because they had a notion that somehow they would be entitled to hook into the system without annexing and so forth. We had one disagreement on the south side of the road. We still have one on the north side of the road about that working or not working. So we're down to this final two. This is the last one on the south side of the road. So acquiring the temporary easement that we need from the Sharmas, coupled with Mr. Selleck's tenant's interest, puts us in a position where we could now, with the help of our city engineer, bid the south side of the road. And if we do that and get sometime in the next few months the holdout on the north side of the road, one way or another, you'll be able to get that project for sure in the next 6 months off the ground. Your resolution mentions the tenant's interest on the third page, and it's not an expensive resolution. You're going to pay $200 for the tenant's interest. Those things are basically a sort of a courtesy on the part of the tenant that we try to explain what we are taking. And all we're taking in his situation is we're going to be out in the right-of-way next to the road, except for 30-foot sort of staging area on the property temporarily, probably not for longer than a week or two as far as that particular location. So the tenant understands this isn't going to be very much of an intrusion, but it's an intrusion. The owners understand it's a temporary easement too. It'll last as long as the contractor's warranty at the most. It's probably a year to two of any interest the city would have in it. And we've redesigned the south side just to stay close to the roadway right-of-way that was already there. The alternative was to go diagonal through these folks' backyard, and it turned into something that they felt they should have a lot of other considerations from the city that really didn't make sense to do as far out west as there and so forth, and nothing being developed to the west of them to the pasture. So the $1,500 for the easement is about a $500 bump compared to about another $1,000 they wanted besides the $500. So $1,500, in my opinion, is a reasonable amount for this. We've talked about them in closed session before last year. And the tenant is actually, we doubled the price from $100 to $200, but some of these tenants agreements, depending on how much inconvenience you cause them, can be, they're subjective, it just depends, but this is still a reasonable price, and you couldn't go into eminent domain proceedings for this price with either of them. So we packaged the two together in the resolution. The whole resolution will result in us paying something else that you've already got in your claims tonight, assuming you go along with it. The two of these things combined, along with recording costs and a lien search on each that we pay the abstract company for, will come to a couple $1,000. So that's what I'm asking you.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for our city attorney? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the temporary easement and land acquisition on Libertyville Road.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Discussion?
Are there two votes here?
Just one right so far.
I think they're combined in one resolution.
Right.
You mean, is there an action item
Yeah,
and a
is that-
resolution? I don't We just have the
action
one.
item was just talking
To-
about
yeah.
the tenants portion
All right.
of the temporary easement. And they're both combined on, what was it, page 3?
Right.
You said,
One
of
vote's-
the
One
resolution.
resolution covered it because the tenants interest, basically we're keeping the signed documents originals. They'll be referenced in the resolution. Temporary easement will be filed with the court.
All right, so the action was explaining it.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign? Okay, thank you. Next, council, we move to a resolution for no parking in loading zones.
I'll take that one. We had postponed this vote at our last meeting so that the Public Safety Transportation Committee could meet one more time, which we did just before this meeting, to discuss an amendment. Jason, can you go to the back and click the resolution link? It'll show the language. So the changes that these came from a meeting with school officials at Pence Elementary and concerned parents and our city administrator. And so there, A, B, and C, and D, parking shall not be permitted on either side of School Place Street from Fairfield Drive to the intersection of School Place Street with South 6th Street. The south side will be a loading zone area, so we're not recommending any change to that. B, parking shall not be permitted on the east side of South 6th Street from the intersection of Fillmore Avenue to School Place during these specified hours coinciding with peak school traffic and transportation times. School day mornings from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. School day afternoons from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. No changes recommended on that. Here's where the change is recommended. C reads, one-way travel from west to east only shall be permitted on School Place from Fairfield Drive to South 6th Street. Currently, there are one-way signs on the east side of School Place, so that anybody coming on 6th Street that are supposed to be flipped to make it one-way during school hours, but according to some reports, sometimes those are flipped and left flipped, so they're creating one-way situation outside of school hours. So our recommendation is to have it one-way travel, so everything stays the same, but then match the same times from B. So one-way travel from west to east only shall be permitted on School Place from Fairfield Drive to South 6th Street during these specified hours coinciding with peak school traffic and transportation times, so school day mornings from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. and school day afternoons from 3 to 4 p.m. Essentially, this is no change. It's just a sign now states when it's one way instead of relying on school staff or volunteers to flip the signs. So this will not create an all-time one-way School Place. It'll only be during those designated hours. And then Part D, other prior parking limitations, signage remain applicable if not consistent. That remains the same. So I'll make the motion to pass this resolution with the amended C. And the amendment is, instead of a hard period at South 6th Street, it is a comma. And the rest reads the same as B, from during these specified hours, and then list those hours.
I'll second that.
Motion by Hallie, second by Flournoy to approve the amended resolution. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we have the second reading of our crosswalks amendment. This is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's any public comment on the proposed changes. Okay. Then we'll close, not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing. Council, any feedback that you've received on the proposed amendments? Okay. If not, I'd entertain a motion then to pass this from the second to the third reading.
So moved.
Second by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And I will abstain since some of these crosswalks go across Highway 1 and my employment of the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Darren. Next, council, we have amendment to ordinance 1170 for school zones. This will be second reading. The public hearing portion will open at this time. Ask if there's anyone who has any comments on the proposed amendment ordinance. Okay, not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve from the second to the third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, council, we move to the second reading of our amended ordinance to allow bow hunting on private property. Does the committee have anything to describe in terms of any changes since the last meeting before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, we don't have our recommended changes ready. We did ask our city attorney if we should just go ahead and pass from the second to third so as we don't lose time before the bow hunting season. He said yes. So we're going to bring a minor amendment to the third and final reading. What it'll be is there'll be a deer management plan that is referenced in the ordinance, and the committee wants to keep that very simple. Essentially, it includes the setbacks that the city will enforce for bow hunting of deer on private property. I can say unofficially that the language that the committee passed that should come before you, though it may include other language that the city administrator or city attorney feels is important, would be 150 feet setbacks from any occupied buildings and 150 feet from any school district, and then 75 feet from unoccupied buildings and 75 feet from any street or trail. And these would only the occupied and unoccupied buildings could be modified by property owners. So that means a property owner may allow hunters to take shots closer to their buildings, their private buildings, but they can't change the setbacks to any public street, trail, or school district. And also will allow with the property owners, so it's hunters may hunt the property lines, except property owner by the school district, so we want them to stay away from the school district. But they may not shoot across the property line without permission of the adjacent property owner. So that allows what John Morrissey, our city attorney, had recommended last week, was that if you have neighbors who want to go in together, who maybe an individual property doesn't meet those setbacks, but a few combined do, that they can privately, the setbacks for the private occupied and non-occupied buildings could be waived. And then we changed the language here to be a little more enforceable. The language from the sample policy was to maximize safety, hunters are encouraged to take shots at 25 yards or less from an elevated position. Ours will say hunters are required to take shots of 25 yards or less from an elevated position. We're not specifying the elevated position has to be necessarily a deer stand because, again, we had somebody come, a member of the community who did not want this at all. And I reassured them this is a handful of people who are interested in this, and it's probably not going to be a whole lot of properties that participate. But those who do have interest may want to allow that elevated position to be a deck on their house or some part of the property. So if it's an elevated position, it fits the setback, and they're shooting from the maximum or minimum required distance, then we're saying that's okay if they want to sit on a deck rather than a deer stand. So we're at this point trying to create a safety situation that maximize safety but not get too heavily burdensome with paperwork. Our city attorney does feel that a one-page form required to be filled out that lists our setbacks and our rules that's signed by the hunter would be advantageous, because then there's a certain amount of accountability that they have read the rules, signed off that they understand them, and if they break them, then there's the enforcement process is a little simpler. So we'll probably bring that as well. But for now, we want to pass this to keep the timing such that we can finish this at the next meeting with these amendments. But I'll open it to discussion if there's any input on any of those setbacks or any of those those ideas that you
Now,
want.
I have one question about setbacks, and you had said it was going to be 150 feet from public facilities, like a street?
No, it's
or
150 feet from occupied buildings
occupied buildings.
or from any school district property.
Right.
75 feet for a road or a trail.
Yeah, 75 from any street or trail and 75 from any unoccupied building,
Okay.
which would be like a garage or
The
shed.
reason I ask is average properties around the city of Fairfield are maybe 100 to 130 foot deep. And if it was 150 foot setback from a public street, that would be beyond the person's backyard distance, and they would be excluded from hunting.
Yeah. Even
So
with
I
these
just
setbacks,
was
yeah.
wanting to get that in my mind.
Well, even with the 75 feet, it still excludes most properties in the city.
Right.
Most, these are mostly
Yeah,
going to
I
be.
think mine's like 132 feet deep, something like that, but mine's a little bit bigger than some average properties. Maybe it's smaller than some average properties, but the 150 feet kind of drew a little alarm to what I was hearing. So if
Yeah.
it's 75 from a street, then it would be fine. Now, you need to talk to your neighbors. If your neighbors are not interested in having a hunt and you're only going to hunt 15 to 20 feet wide area in your backyard that's maybe 60 feet wide, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So,
And then we did have a citizen who was concerned about deer that were shot on his neighbor's property, dying in his property. And apparently the DNR does have rules about that. The hunter is allowed to come in and collect the animal, but they can't bring their gun or their hunting equipment with them when they
Right,
cross
the
that
bow.
property line. Yep, so they have to come unarmed. So, we're kind of taking it year one and see if issues come up, and if we need to be more restrictive in the future, we have that option. And by making a plan that's separate from the ordinance, the plan can be modified without these 3 readings, and so it's, we've done this with many different tree plans and such, so.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak to the ordinance. Not seeing no interest, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to move this from the second to the third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Anderson. Discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Hamilton?
yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, we have 2 amendments coming up that, amendments to ordinances regarding the Beautification Commission and membership and annual report. They've been through 1 reading. Is there a wish to suspend the rules and move these tonight?
I would move to suspend rules and move these from the
Okay.
second through the third and final reading.
Okay,
I'll second that.
so let's do that for the first one, which would be ordinance 1172, the Beautification Commission. Prior to taking that vote, I will open the public hearing on the reading and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak to the changes. Now we'll close the public hearing.
Again, that's
Again,
only
this
to
is-
increase the number of people on the board, correct?
Yeah, from 9 to 10.
9 to 10. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for the reading of ordinance 1172. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. And that'll be a separate motion then to move this from the second and third and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved by Hamilton, second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. And again, need a separate motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. We'll open the public hearing for 1173, amendment to the Commission's annual report. Ask for any public comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to pass this amended ordinance from the second to third and final reading.
So moved.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you, council. Nothing to add in my mayor's report, having delivered the proclamation, so we'll move to our committee reports. Public safety.
Yes, so Public Safety and Transportation Committee met earlier this evening. We already talked about the school place one-way signs and the deer management policy. The only other thing, and we didn't take any action, but just wanted to bring this to the council to make them aware, is 4th and Merrill intersection is, it's part of Highway 1, and the crosswalks and the stoplights and such are not real pedestrian friendly. So this may come back as a project. I believe the DOT wants to see the city put in some curb cuts and make it more pedestrian friendly to bring pedestrians kind of all along the outside of that intersection rather than across and on the island that's there. And so I know Melanie Carlson is in communication with the DOT asking, do we need a permit to do this work? Is it within the DOT right of way, and has not yet received an answer. So may become a little project for the city, but at this point, there's no action to be taken.
Okay, thank you. Ways and Means Committee.
Yes, we had a very extended meeting tonight. Lasted 2.5 minutes. But basically what we're doing is the request to extend the North Entry sign program. It was budgeted in the prior fiscal year. Some of it is carrying over into this year. And because of the auditing requirements, that kind of, it just needs to be budgeted in the proper year. So that's the whole request. So I make a motion that we move to approve that request to move it.
So what was the amount?
It was less than, if I got this right, I think it's about just under $1,200, a little over $1,200.
Okay. And again, that was out of local option sales tax.
Yes.
It was budgeted in 2016-17. We're moving that to the 17-18
Yes, because
budget.
it didn't get totally completed.
Not all of it's local option sales tax. Some of it's actually private donations that
Okay.
that
we were holding.
We should budget for this project anyway.
Okay. All right,
I'll
very
second
good.
that.
So we have a motion by Thompson to approve moving this into our current budget year to be reimbursed.
Second. Oh,
Second by Anderson. Discussion?
you
Not
wanna-
all those in.
Do you want an exact dollar amount? I think I can find it. This is all my fault, so if you're
No, I think we'll go ahead with the roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. You can give it to Rebecca Michaels, so she has it on record.
Yep.
Go ahead.
The committee chair did strongly chastise the project manager for making sure that he stays within his
Within this
fiscal
budget.
year.
Yeah, save it out. That's right.
Fiscal budget. We told him we were going to do that at the public meeting.
Lesson learned.
Need a motion?
Motion to chastise. So move to our city administrator report. Aaron.
Yeah, we had a couple productive last couple weeks. The mayor and I met with the Census Bureau last week regarding getting the 2020 census kicked off. He's recommending a committee to publicize and promote the census. We're going to be looking at that. Melly and I was involved in a.
That's my king.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Melanie and I were involved in a conference call with JCG regarding step 1 and step 2 easement project process and moving forward. It looks like we're only going to have one property that will be going to condemnation in that project. As John talked about before, there's only one property left for step 1 for easements, which sounds like that's a holdout that may be going to condemnation also, but we're moving forward with both of those. We had a fantastic comp plan kickoff. Is that last week or this?
Mm-hmm.
It
That was last week,
Wednesday.
last Wednesday.
And had a lot of good ideas and a lot of good information put together for the comp plan moving forward. That was a rather long meeting, but we had a lot of good information. I also had a meeting with Rathbun Rural Water and regarding their 2 connections that are emergency connections. One they've already had in the past, which is under contract. When they took over, I forgot already, what's the town? Birmingham. When they took over supplying water to Birmingham, that created another emergency contact or connection for them, which they aren't paying for at this point, but we're bringing that up to them as far as a contract. They would like to get out of their current contract where they're not paying us about a little over $25,000 a year for water, and that'll be up for negotiations.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. I'll add that the meeting with the census is essentially the more we do from a promotional standpoint, voluntary basis, the better quality count that we get. So they ask communities to engage in that way. So I'm going to probably appoint a committee or a commission to help with that over the next year while they prepare to come in and do their census. And then also the comprehensive plan, just to remind the council, we are going to schedule a work session sometime in October for the entire council to get their input. A lot of the work that was done in our first meeting was to get a sense of the broad issues and the vision of what we would like to accomplish. And then over time, there'll be detail put to all of those things. But I feel it's important to get this body's input totally in that process as well. So we'll schedule a work session sometime in October. Okay.
Aaron, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just to follow up on our last meeting, we had a citizen here specifically inquiring about Buchanan, and it looks like bids should have been received. Do you know if we got bids on the Buchanan Maple Park project?
We did. Steve, do you know exactly what those bids are? But
I know we're not
did-
voting. I just want to make sure it is moving forward.
Well, that was part
Well,
of
that's
the
what we
East
approved.
Buchanan Avenue,
Yeah,
South
that's-
Maple Street.
That's
That was the bid we received
Yes.
from Norris.
Asphalt contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
that was the resurfacing project there.
I asked Aaron to check and see that
We'll get with
pothole that he
Daryl.
referenced at the last meeting was filled. I'm
Okay.
hoping
Awesome.
that it was, assume that it was, but if we can inspect that area to be sure that any area that we're not resurfacing is also taken care of.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You have a flyer on the fall brush pickup and hydrant flushing scheduling coming up for this fall. The last item on the agenda, the code enforcement tree removal. Scott Vaughn told me late this afternoon that both trees are down. They haven't been chipped and picked up yet, but they are both down, so that
Good.
danger is not there. Any other items or business for the council? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Have a